harvesting and kind of closing up the garden today. I've got my little sidekick, Oliver. I've already taken down and rolled up my fence. We got this on Amazon and it's electrified. We hooked it up to a battery sitting at the top of the hill and use that for keeping raccoons and the cats and things like that out of the garden. At this point in time, I didn't really feel like it was as necessary just because I've already harvested the things that I was more or less concerned about. Everything's coming along nicely. My sunflowers have pretty much come and gone. We had a lot of dry weather that was a big part of that. So as you can see, it is time to kind of get things cut. I needed to pick up the butternut squash out of there, the pumpkins, and kind of work on making some arrangements with the corn. It did not turn out well this year. I think it was a little too dry. So we're gonna just make some decorations this year and call it a day. Learn from that, and next year I'll be a little more diligent about watering. Also, I think I'm going to try planting them more in a block instead of spread out over a row, because we've got 3 narrower rows instead of doing a block, which would be the ideal thing. So it's a beautiful fall day. It is actually very warm today. It got to be about, I think, 85. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to get out here now that the shade has kind of covered the whole garden area and get started, because it is also time that I get some mowing done. After 3 weeks of not having to mow, it is definitely time after it rained a lot last week. Found a bonus. I've been trying to pick these. My very first snip, you might have seen, broke my tool. So we're gonna just try to peel them off with the gloves and see what happens from there. sunflower heads. I actually just watched a video on YouTube about this, and kind of how you can see the stripes. And that kind of tells you that it's ready. So it looks beautiful. I mean, these are gigantic. This is in comparison to the size of my head. So that's amazing. I also have a couple big ones there that I'm going to cut down. I am going to leave the sunflowers in the far patch because I do like having the birds eat off of them. And in the winter, they look beautiful. The contrast, the snow sitting on the heads. I don't know, something about it. I left this patch just directly beside me last winter, and I love that. This winter, I'm kind of trying to like map out, now that I've done my garden for the first year, like what it is I want to plant where, what's going to be most beneficial. You can also see there's a lot of spotting on the edges of these sunflowers, as well as on the leaves. And also we had a ton of aphids, and I did some research on that, and it sounds like I'm too high in nitrogen. So I'm going to try to remedy that by putting a thick layer of mulch over this bed over the winter, trying to kind of clear off as many of the plants as I can to kind of get rid of any extra nitrogen that might be hanging out there. It's a good possibility that that's due to the fact that that building back there was a hog shed back in the day when his grandparents farmed this land. So I think that there is probably some nitrogen that resides in this hillside because of that. The reason why we picked this hill was the fact that it's a steeper hill, harder to mow. And one day I had been asking what I thought was going to be just a little patch, and he came out and plowed it up in the spring when he had to plow it anyways. So we ended up with the whole hillside, which is turned out to be a good thing. For my first run of gardening, I got a ton of cherry tomatoes. The plan was to have Amish paste tomatoes to do some more sauces. I've been using the cherry tomatoes with green peppers that I've also gotten from the garden. I got quite a few melons, mostly cantaloupe, Athena melons, a couple of watermelons, and then just enjoying the sunflowers. Like, I just love seeing it. It looks beautiful. It's fun to take that from the seeds and then watch it grow. And I just been watching a lot of YouTube videos, honestly, and that's kind of how I've learned. So I kind of feel like that's a good way to kind of pass the torch forward by trying to share a little bit more as I do them. As you can see, I am wearing long sleeves. I am wearing gloves. I do wear a hat. I try to do all of that to kind of minimize the amount of bites I get from mosquitoes. Also, itchiness. As you can see, I'm red. It's hot, but it's definitely worth having the coverage versus not. I always wear pants when I'm out here, boots. We do have snakes in this area, so I am a little bit cautious for that reason, and always wear boots and pants, and then just try to be aware of my surroundings as I'm gardening. So I'll show you a little bit of my actual harvest that I got today, and then I think I'm going to get started cutting down the rest of these sunflowers, and also starting to cut down some of the corn so I can bundle it. All right, so here's what I harvested. I actually, I've got my 2 sunflower heads so far, which I'm gonna do more, like I said, and a couple more pumpkins. I thought I planted larger pumpkins. We only ended up with the smaller ones. These are about the size of your palm, a little bigger. I'm gonna paint one of those for my friends at work. I found a couple stray cucumbers. I thought I had really given up on the vine in the back. I had planted some in an area that was less than favorable for the cucumbers to grow, and now later in the season they grew. And let's see here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 butternut squash. This will make about, I think, 16 I've harvested total from planting just 1 row of seeds. So not a bad turnout. I did make a pie with some of the butternut squash. That's a recipe my mom used, and it was amazing. I'm also going to just show you, this is the area that I did have sunflowers in. I'm going to end up mowing over that corner again. As I'm working on that, I just changed it into a little farm scene. There's a couple of the pumpkins from my garden. The big pumpkin is from a lady not far from here who just has a little festival that she does. And little kitty. Hi, kitty. What you doing? Kitty. Yeah. I love my little kitties too. And this mom I got when I was in Prairie du Chien. They have a market that some Amish run there, and they turned out beautifully. But yeah, this bed here, all volunteer sunflowers this season. Earlier, they were all the smaller variety, so more so like the ones off to that side. But I finally just, when they were done and over with, I cut them and decided to just kind of utilize the spot instead. My little golden, he is 9 months old and he is very busy. He loves to find things to chew on. What are you chewing on now, buddy? Hard telling. All right, so I just finished up mowing because I decided I should probably get that done before I started finishing up the sunflowers. Like I said, we have had weeks of no rain, followed by about, I think somebody said in the area, 7 inches last week. So we got plenty of rain. Our grass grew. The fields are still drying nicely. You can kind of see those in the distance. You can see some hay that we cut. That was from our other piece of land that we farm over by his brothers. And my garden still needs attention. So it's kind of been a good day to just catch up on that. It is definitely cooling off the longer or the further that the sun sets. So I'm just gonna have this video going. Our tree is kind of starting to turn, which is nice. Yeah, just have fun watching me try to use machete. So believe it or not, machete was harder to find than I thought. And I think that that's gonna be my best way to chop down this corn easily, quickly. I don't really have a great set of gardening shears or whatever, and I really should get some. I will say the sunflower stalks are extremely tough. A lot of them are probably a good 3 to 4 inches around at the base. And obviously the heads are like 20 to 24 inches across. So I'm gonna get started. Again, other YouTube videos are kind of what helped me, so I kind of wanted to show you. That's kind of how I knew the best way to tell if these are ready. You can kind of see that gray and white stripe. What do you see, Oliver? Come here. My doggy, come. Up. Good boy. Yeah, good boy. Good boy. You're a good boy, aren't you? He likes this one. All right, I'm gonna continue to cut down some more sunflowers. I was busily working away and realized that, in fact, I think my camera got knocked over at some point, probably when the dog jumped up. Like that. Okay, Oliver. This is a good example before I remove all these millions of little flowers. And they just brush off. mess. Again, some good gray striping on these. Good harvest. Sure, you about saw me kill myself here. This I think is our biggest. It's a whole, this is huge. This is huge. It's beautiful, round, huge. And these seeds are very perfect. I can feel they're gonna just be popping out relatively quickly. Enough sunlight for the day. I also need to go in and kind of get dinner ready for the guys who are in the process of chopping corn down across the road from us here. So until next time, thank you for tuning in. All in all, a pretty good haul. Sunflowers, puppy. Where do you think you're going? So pretty this time of night. Right, so next up is I'm going to get all the seeds out of here, put them in here so I can spread them out and dry. I did use this earlier in the season. It does say that it's for fruit and nut trees, citrus, berry, ornament, shrubs, indoor, outdoor, may use up to the day of harvest. So that is the only kind of insecticide that I used for organic gardening, and honestly it did help with the actual presentation of the aphids, but I will say that in the future I am going to look into what's going to minimize the nitrogen. I believe that's what I have going on here, just by the way that the leaves look and everything. So getting ready to do this.